There.
Okay, we are recording.
Thank you. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, please note the following. All Bernardsville Borough Planning Board meetings will be held in person in the meeting hall. Building.
They tried again.
All Bernardsville Borough Planning Board meetings will be held in person in the meeting hall on the second floor of the Bernardsville Municipal Building at 166 Brook Road. Meetings will be live streamed on YouTube with no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to offer comments or ask questions of witnesses will be required to attend meetings in person. YouTube live stream access for all meetings is YouTube at Bernardsville Borough /streams. Borough is BORO. This link will also be available on the agenda for each meeting, which is posted on the Borough website, which is www.bernardsvilleborough.org, and on the Borough Hall Public Bulletin Board at least 48 hours prior to meetings. Notice of these changes has also been emailed to the Bernardsville News and the Courier News by posting a copy on the Borough website and by filing a copy with the municipal clerk on January 16th, 2024. There's the intention of the board not to continue any
sorry,
matter
you might,
past 11
Yeah, can
p.m.
you just say that a little slower?
I'll give you the sheet.
Okay, sure.
It is the intention of the board not to continue any matter past 11 p.m. at any regular or special meeting of the board unless a motion is passed by the members then present to extend to a later specified cutoff time. And same shall be announced at the opening of each meeting.
Thanks.
In addition, the board does not intend to begin a new hearing after 10 p.m. nor begin testimony of a new witness after 10:30 p.m. Any hearing conducted by the board is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision. Decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times.
Thanks. Yeah, this is it, right? This is what, okay.
Roll call.
You have to do the office first.
Yes, please, thank you.
Sorry.
And it's my privilege to welcome our new member, Joe DeMarco. Go stand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joe DeMarco,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
and that I will bear
and that I will bear
true faith and allegiance to same
true faith and allegiance to same
and to the governments
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all the duties
of office of planning board member
of the office of planning board member
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
and that I will not use my office
to grant preferential
to
treatment,
grant preferential treatment,
nor to seek personal gain,
nor to seek personal gain,
favor, or advantage
favor, or advantage,
not available to the general public,
not available to the general public,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir.
Now we can have roll call.
No,
The
no,
chairman's
no,
permission.
the election.
Roll. Roll.
Let's roll call first.
Steve?
Steve?
Roll.
Roll call first.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have a nomination of, actually, we can do roll call first, and then nomination. Yes.
Mr. DeMarco,
Present.
Ms. Gardner. Here. Ms. Geller. Present. Mr. Graham.
Here.
Mr. Horowitz.
Here.
Mr. McQueen is absent. Mr. Simwa. Absent. Mr. Walden is absent, and Mr. Zazarino.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, so now we'll do the, we have a stalemate, and they often are organizational meeting for role of the vice chair.
And we have an even number, so tonight I'm counting correctly.
Actually, I do want to say I'm removing my name from consideration.
I'll nominate Jeff Horowitz.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations?
Will you accept?
Yeah, I accept.
You accept the nomination.
I'm sorry, sir.
I accept the nomination.
No other nomination.
Okay, it could be a voice vote and acclamation, perhaps.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You can't.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I think.
May I have another? All right. Okay, now we have meeting minutes, review for two meetings, the October 26th meeting and the November 16th meeting.
We only have the 16th.
We only have the 16th. Oh, we have it.
November 16th.
November 16th. That's October 16th.
Is October 26th to follow, Denise, if I may, or?
Yeah, I just didn't get to complete it.
Yeah.
On page 2.
Is this what we went over?
Yeah. On page 2, I think we should list the eligible members that voted for.
Yes, I have that down.
I think we should reference what the amendment was rather than just merely state the amendment made.
Okay, so the line above, the type of roof will ever pertaining to the length of a moving vehicle.
We should
You
say
want the
what
full
we
condition?
amended to.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you too well. Sorry.
I think we should include what we amended to, perhaps using whatever language we put in the resolution.
Okay.
For that.
Anything else? Did we find
I'm
any?
down the bottom of page 2 where it starts, Mr. McDonald has restarted his testimony or started his testimony. It's just kind
Yeah, it should say restarted.
and on page 3, this is just, a misspelling. It's real barrel.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you too
Real
well.
barrel.
Okay.
Wait, where,
Page
page 3?
3, questions of Mr. McDonald from the public. It's the first question from Kathy Redling. Mr. McDonald responded that.
Oh, at the bottom, okay.
With real barrels, and it's actually real barrel.
Thank you. And that's one of the things that spell check won't take. Won't put it did that.
But anyway, on page 7, Mr. Shelley's testimony, it's six item down, electric utility meters will be installed on the northern facade. And on page 8, it said the electric utility room on the east side of the ground floor with meters being situated on the outside of the wall of this room. So it's, I don't know whether it's either northern or eastern side.
Wait, so where is the second reference? I have the
Second-
first one.
Second reference is page 8. Ms. Pumo's testimony, and it's the second one from the end of her comments, the building will.
Of an electricity room on the east side of the ground floor.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
It's either on the
If,
east
Mr.
side or
Chairman, maybe in the future, if I apologize, but we can try to address these things before the meeting via email with any suggested revisions to the minutes so as not to take the time with everyone else.
Yeah, okay, well, that's the last one, and
Okay.
that one,
Well, that was testimony from two different, so I'll have to go and check back
Yeah,
from two
Whatever's
different,
And then
Professionals.
Yeah, and then at the end, this.
The end of what?
Well, we can talk about this later. We can go over this later.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
Is the board comfortable enough, assuming those modifications made to adopt the resolution, excuse me, adopt the minutes as amended?
I'll move the minutes.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Extensions, of course, to if anyone who wasn't there.
Yep,
Okay,
thank you.
Denise, you have somebody in the waiting room, I don't know if you have to let them in.
I can't let him in.
Okay, I didn't know if
I'm
they
not
could hear
even
or
sure
not.
how he got the, invitation.
okay, so we, just communications, NGOT letter,
That's on the NGTO letter. Do we know if that construction on 202 is going to close 202?
We got that far else?
Yeah. The one near, Pheasant Hill Road?
Oh, no, that one is repair to the retaining wall and
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't hear you well, sorry.
there's a culvert that goes under Route 202. And they're gonna be repairing retaining wall and some stone aprons around it.
Would that one affect traffic on 202?
I can't tell you if they're gonna put a lane closure up or not when they do that work, but I don't think it's a closure.
Okay.
okay, that was the first two, and then, wetlands notice for Lindaberry.
I'm sorry, can I get that? I
Do
couldn't.
you have a copy of the agenda?
Yeah, but I'm actually writing as. as you guys are
Unfortunately, if I may, Mr. Chairman, since we don't have microphones, at least not yet for the board members, for the benefit of the public and everyone, as board members, we may wish to speak almost as loud as I do.
I agree with that. Yeah, the recording is better that way as well.
Yeah, it helps everything. Unfortunately, it's an effort to shout.
There's a receipt of a wetlands notice for Lindaberry Avenue. There's also notice of a public hearing for Highland Council Regional Master Plan amendments. Did you want to say anything at all?
Yeah, I don't know what's in that, so I don't know if we should comment or not.
Yeah, it's just a notice. And then finally, the Somerset County Planning Board letter. Cultural and Heritage Commission draft long-range plan public hearing notice. So they're getting into long-range public hearings for Cultural and Heritage Commission. All right,
Mr. Chairman, I'm just if I may, for the edification or benefit of any board members or public who might not be aware, that regional master plan amendments for the Highlands, those are related to two items, the warehouse guidelines that the Highlands put out. They're seeking to amend the Highlands Regional Master Plan to include and then enforce those warehouse provisions for those, of course, who are in conformance in the Highlands. The other is a land use capability zone map, probably less of interest or controversy perhaps to, but that's just more of a map amendment. I just wanted to share that so that everyone knows what those hearings are about,
right,
because the notice didn't say.
They're also in the process of amending your entire plan. So there's going to be a whole process of review and the adoption of the Highlands Master Plan.
I'm sorry, but,
The Highlands Master Plan, they're proceeding with amending and revising. and updating.
Yeah, fairly significant steps. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
right, but we're not opted in, right?
We are not.
Yeah, but it's always worthwhile knowing what they're doing. All right, is there anyone here who has come to discuss something that's not on the agenda tonight? You get two, so, okay.
Good evening. Do I just need to say my address?
A name and address, please. Thank you.
Kathy Peachy, 70 Chilton. I'd like to start on a positive note. First of all, belated Happy New Year. And welcome back, Ms. Gardner.
Thank you.
and welcome to the new members. And I hope that Mr. McQueen and Mr. Simoff will hear this at some point too. So thank you, planning board and our professional staff here. Thank you very much for your meticulous and mindful review of the many development projects now occurring in the town. It's a very serious task, and the responsibility right now going forward is right here. So because of your devoted efforts, I've also, as you know, I've attended many meetings, either here in person or in the hybrid setting. And because of your devoted efforts, I've also seen the developers collaborate with the town and willingly adjust and optimize their plans. And that's been good to see. So thank you, and I hope that that spirit of meticulous review and collaboration between the town and the developers continues. I'd also like to just make one comment about the format. It was I have to respectfully disagree with you, Mr. Warner. And it was my understanding at the end of last year that we were going to return to the hybrid format. There was that one-off situation, that's true. However, I thought we were going back to that situation of the hybrid, and it doesn't seem we are. There's no opportunity for the public to comment unless they're here. It's wonderful to have this turnout here tonight, but you well know, and I know because I come, that's not always the case. So I'm not going to argue it with you. I'm just expressing that I thought that was an okay format. There have been multiple problems, not Denise's fault especially, but just multiple problems with the owl, the volume and everything else, even going to the YouTube setting. So I just wanted to share that comment. So thank you very much, and please keep up the good work.
Can I get your last name, please, spelling, please?
Peachy, Peachey.
Any others? Okay, none. All right, old business, we have no resolutions for adoption.
We do expect to have two next meetings,
Next week,
and we're well on our way. One is already through the professionals.
to the various things, okay. On new business, it's, we just have to quickly review the bills. And approve them.
I move that we pay the outstanding bills in the amount of $3,520.
I'm sorry, can you just say that in my time? I apologize. It's, I know, thank you.
I move that we pay the outstanding bills in the amount of $3,520 to our professionals.
Second.
Roll call. Roll call.
I apologize.
I'm sorry, for the bills, it's not a resolution, so it could be a voice vote.
Okay, all in favor of paying the bills, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No.
And I'm sorry, I was
I
speaking to
second.
council.
I move we seconded.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so the opening act, so the main event is public hearing. It's the only one we have scheduled for tonight. It's the initial public hearing. AR at Bernardsville LLC, it's 39 Alcott Square, 5 Morristown Road, block 125, lots 1 through 3. And its application SP 247.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, before applicant's counsel makes his opening,
Yes,
I did want to just, well, a couple of things. One, for procedural purposes, are there any attorneys who are representing any individuals or entities here this evening? In which case, that has an impact on who can question witnesses during the proceedings. Do we have any attorneys representing any individuals or entities? Seeing and hearing none, that resolves that issue. Also, I did have an opportunity to review the notice, found the content to be sufficient, found it to be timely served, certified mail, and published on January 25th, each more than 10 days prior to this evening. So at least initially, my legal opinion, unless and until changed by anyone, is that this board has jurisdiction to hear and decide the application. And appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chairman. Sorry to hold up the arm.
Just, Mr. Warren, it's just, I know you and I,
I believe you will be recusing yourself,
I
Mr.
will,
DeMarco?
yes, so I did speak with you. And at this time, I'm just gonna recuse myself, from this hearing, for this particular event.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco.
Not a problem, thank you. Best of luck there.
And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a quorum. We may continue.
Terrific.
Jurisdiction of the quorum.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. My name is John Wichiscala. I'm here tonight on behalf of AR at Bernardsville LLC. It's my pleasure to be here before the board this evening. My client is an affiliate entity, which is under the ownership and control of Advanced Realty Investors. Advanced is a privately held and fully integrated real estate development and management firm. They're headquartered about 3 miles from here in Bedminster. The company was founded in 1979. And since that time, it has developed over 20 million square feet of commercial space and over 3,300 residential units throughout the Northeast region and here in New Jersey. It is a company that takes pride in developing, owning, and managing its assets, and it does a great job with that. Advance does specialize in high-end residential and revitalization projects, such as the one that we're proposing here in Bernardsville. The property that is the subject of the application is what is commonly known as the Palmer Square site. I know you're all familiar with it. Property address, just for the record, again, is 35 to 39 Olcott Square and 5 Morristown Road. It is designated as block 125 and it's lots 1, 2, and 3. Property has been owned by the Palmer family, my understanding, at least back to the 1930s. It's currently developed with several commercial buildings as well as a large surface parking lot. Back in 2022, the borough undertook a study to determine whether this property met the criteria to be designated as an area in need of redevelopment under under the New Jersey Local Redevelopment and Housing Law. And that's a statute that does provide for the redevelopment and revitalization of properties that are designated as areas in need of redevelopment. In the old days, they used to call them blighted areas, blight studies. Borough hired its professionals. A study was prepared that included a map, and that was actually a very deliberative process. That study was presented at a public hearing before this planning board, and ultimately went to the governing body, your mayor and council. And in September of 2022, at a public hearing, the mayor and council adopted a resolution that designated this property as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. And what that allowed for is for the municipality to take the next steps for the planning and redevelopment of the site. And that process is very much a collaborative process and one that involves studies and research and so forth. To be further into the redevelopment law, the borough took the next steps. Professionals started studying and preparing the redevelopment plan. And what the redevelopment plan is, essentially, it's really a zoning ordinance for this particular site. And it was very much a collaborative effort. Concept plans were submitted over a period of time. Significant consideration over that period went into how this site should be redeveloped, what the standards should be, how tall buildings should be, how many residential units, how much commercial space should be there, parking, et cetera. And ultimately, a redevelopment plan was prepared. It was introduced by ordinance by your borough council. That plan was referred, just like any other zoning ordinance, back to this planning board. Sometime in 2023, you saw it and you did a review of that redevelopment plan. And ultimately, the plan came back on a second reading, public hearing before the mayor and council for the adoption of that redevelopment plan, which actually occurred on May 8th of 2023. My client was designated as the redeveloper of the property in August of 2023. And a redevelopment agreement was subsequently executed, approved by the council. And what that redevelopment agreement does, it sets forth the obligations and steps that need to be taken with respect to the very important redevelopment of this site. We are before you this evening seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval. Our proposal is to redevelop this site with 68 residential units and about 9,200 square feet of commercial space, ground floor commercial space. We've got structured parking, large amenity space through the middle of the development. And the plan that you're going to see before you tonight, or that's before you tonight, you're going to see on the screen really is largely the plan that was developed. It was part of the redevelopment plan through the process, et cetera. And we'll get into all the details of that as we go through. One thing I want to make clear, the application is a fully conforming plan. We meet all of the bulk standards that are set up for the zone, density, height, impervious coverage, setbacks, and the like. If you look through your application package, we had actually 2 architectural design waivers. We actually noticed for them, but we've eliminated those design waivers. They were fairly minor in nature. So we are before you tonight with a fully conforming plan. We are in receipt of a number of reports we received from your board professionals, some of the various committees, Historic Preservation, the Environmental Commission, Fire Subcode Committee. We're going to address all those. A number of the fire comments that we received. We do have a plan that fully conforms with all applicable building and fire codes. Some recommendations were made to enhance some of the fire protection standards. We're in agreement on a number of those. We'll speak to them as we go through the hearing. My client, Advanced, very excited at the prospect of redeveloping this property. As I indicated, their headquarters are in Bedminster. The opportunity to build a beautiful flagship community here in Bernardsville is very exciting for us, and we're happy to be here. We do have a great development team. I have 3 witnesses I intend to call this evening, time permitting. Paul Much, he's a professional engineer, civil engineer with Stonefield Engineering. Paul is going to run through all aspects of the existing site, the existing conditions, and the site plan as it's being proposed. Its consistency with the redevelopment plan. We're also and he'll also touch on operations as well, how this property will operate, how it'll be managed, all aspects of trash removal and deliveries and so forth. We're also joined by John Korak. He's also at Stonefield Engineering, also a professional engineer. He's our traffic engineer. We're a fully conforming site. We did prepare a traffic study, and he'll speak to it. And we also have Kevin Smith. He's our project architect with Robert A.M. Stern Architecture. They designed the project that is before you, and he'll speak as well. Also joined by a number of members of the Advanced team, Peter Cocosiello and Rob Caradad. So some questions may come up somewhere along the hearing, and if we need to call on them, we may very well. So I don't know if the board has any questions of me at this time. If not, I'd like to move on to our first witness, who I know Mr. Warner is going to want to swear in. I don't know if you want to swear all of our witnesses in at once.
Happy with the chair's
Just swear the first one.
permission to do it either way, but I'm going to swear in our board professionals, as I always do as well. So we have
Can I get
the
names?
applicant's engineer and our board professionals, our engineer, Mr. Brightly, and our planner, Mr. Zabo. If you'll all raise your right hand, please. All of you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you all.
Mr. Much, can you please provide the board with a brief summary of your educational and professional background and licenses you hold?
Certainly, I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I graduated from Rowan University with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. Been practicing the field for roughly 11 years with specific experience on applications similar to the one you'll see this evening, and I've been accepted by more than 100 land use boards in the state of New Jersey as an expert witness.
Accepted.
Thank you.
Accepted.
Mr. Much, your office has been involved in the design of this project for some time, is that correct?
It has.
You prepared the plans that are before the board this evening, is that right?
We have, yes.
I'm just gonna turn the floor over to you. I know you've got some exhibits and so forth. We have submitted them. As we move through, I'll ask you to identify them, anything that's not part of the actual site plan set. Identify them. We're gonna pick up with exhibit A1 to start with today's date, and then you'll just roll through.
Certainly. Can you make me the ability to share in the Zoom meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
I was gonna say, could you just slow down a little bit?
Certainly.
Thank you.
I'll go slow. I'll slow it down. Yeah, make me a photo. Just don't get me all confused.
I know I pushed the wrong one.
Yeah, you're good now. You
Yeah.
click yes, then I'm good to go. We'll start with an aerial exhibit.
I will.
I don't think you need the board. I think it's good the way it is. I think that's plenty clear for everyone. So I think that works.
Yeah, we do have, we have a hardboard that we can put up on the easel. I don't know.
But it does seem
Everyone
pretty
see
clear
that,
on
or
this.
you good with it?
I like it on the screen.
Before we proceed, these are exhibits that were, submitted to the board not more than 10 days in advance of this evening's hearing.
That's correct.
So we'll mark each one as an exhibit A1, A2.
Just for safety, some of them may have come in order, but why don't we just mark them anyway, and that way it's clear.
Concur with the conservative approach. Thank you.
No, very conservative.
So the initial exhibit, which I assume that we will mark as exhibit A1, is just an aerial exhibit prepared by my office on February 7th. Just to give the board an idea of what the site looks like today. I don't think we need to belabor the topic. This is a pretty prominent site at the intersection. As you can see, this project and the intention here is to revitalize a site that's going underutilized and could really use some redevelopment to pull pedestrians to the site, revitalize the commercial aspect, but also provide some different amenities that we'll go through this evening. The main goal here is you see a lot of old pavement on the site. Let's get rid of that. Let's clean that up and provide a modern and revitalized site, which is what we're trying to do this evening. So I'll go to my second exhibit, which is, we can mark exhibit A2. This is also prepared by my office, dated February 6th. It is simply a colorized version of the site plan that we actually submitted a few days before the hearing. We've made some minor tweaks around the edges to the actual plan. It's very similar to the initial plan, but we've been working to eliminate those architectural waivers and also ease the turning movements into the garage and invite some more pedestrian space along the frontage, which I'll get into as we go through. Again, this project is intended to revitalize the full frontage, with the target being at the intersection at the Olcott Square. So that is where we propose the retail spaces. There are 3 distinct retail spaces that are located in the old Palmer building at the corner and at the 2. There's two retail spaces that kind of straddle that area that goes into the courtyard. We are looking to revamp the pedestrian experience along the frontage. There is a comment about street trees. On the civil site plans, the street trees aren't shown, but on the architecturals, there's some locations shown. We're happy to work with your professionals to provide street trees. We want them. There's a lot of utilities and other things out there that we'll have to coordinate, but we intend to put street trees along the frontage as well to match the rest of the streetscape and to complement what we're doing on site. And what we're doing on site and what we're extending a little bit into the right of way is giving some level areas to introduce seating and pedestrian areas along the frontage of the site where there is a currently pretty steep slope. So that was one of the tweaks we made between the submitted plan and this plan, is there's just a more expansive and usable pedestrian area along the frontage, which you kind of see in that pinker color on the screen right now. We have those encompassed by planter boxes. We intend to plant a tree in the center at that northwest corner of the site, just to bring a very friendly and pedestrian inviting area that will then service the commercial, the retail, the restaurants, and whatever else goes in those specific areas, those 3 distinct retail spaces along the frontage. So
So, excuse me, so what's being presented now is the revised plan, but it hasn't been formally submitted to.
we did, I don't know if we submitted it 10 days before. That was the only question.
Has it been submitted then?
It has been submitted prior to this meeting, the updated plan, along with the architecturals.
Correct.
And again, these are minor tweaks to the overall plan. This is not substantial changes. This is all tweaks around the edges to the pedestrian areas, also access to the garage, so.
Paul, when you're referring to the plan, I think you have a mouse there, so you're gonna point out to any areas or describe any areas.
Yeah, certainly, I could be
It's
doing
helpful
that as well,
for the
yeah.
board and the public.
So again, these areas out in front of the building that are surrounded by some planters, as well as we'll introduce some trees to those areas. Again, meant to invite pedestrians. There's still the walking area, the fully conforming walking area along the front, all revamped, new curb, new sidewalk, all of the standards. But we also introduce these areas that will help serve the retail spaces to give an inviting area for the pedestrians to use those spaces so they are successful and vibrant as we move forward. That, in addition to the items that we're providing around the outside for the public good and in the right of way, we're also providing an internal courtyard for our residents as well to enjoy. There are passive and active seating areas, dining nodes, bollard lighting, and things of the like that can be enjoyed by the residents as well. So we're looking to get rid of the parking area and replace it with something that's really positive for this building, to serve this building, in addition to the improvements that we're going to be making at the right of ways. Structured parking is provided below what you're seeing on the screen here. And that parking that is provided is fully compliant with the redevelopment plan. There's 135 spaces required for the redevelopment plan, and we provide 139 spaces. Residents will have 2 tiers to purchase parking in this: an assigned space to your unit and or kind of a first come, first served shared agreement. You pull down the ramp that comes off of Morristown Road on the right side of that plan, and I'll point it out here. You enter the garage underneath the building. There'll be a gate there where there'll be the ability to either have a key fob as a resident, or there'll be a pay by hour type of thing for some of the commercial parking that's underneath that structure as well. Again, it's a commingled and shared parking situation that has been very successful in many of the properties that Advanced has worked on and is currently managing, and we expect it to be successful here as well. And again, we're actually +5 on the redevelopment plan and the parking agreement that is in that redevelopment plan. One thing you'll see as the architect testifies later is we have relocated our EV spaces to the edges of the garage rather than internal. It was a comment in some of the review letters, and that came directly.
If you don't mind, just, slowing a
little
bit, yeah.
So we have relocated the EV spaces associated with this from internal of the garage to more around the edges. And that is the result of a meeting that we had with some of the fire officials in the area. And we introduced those spaces along the edge per the recommendations for fire safety. So we've moved those around. We're going to comply with state law as part of this application. And provide the different percentages that are required as part of that. Again, the access comes from Morristown Road. You do come down a ramp next to the building and enter the garage. There's a small kiosk that's shown here, which I've talked about. There's also because we have this ramp, there's going to be a small wall that's located along that right-hand side of the page. That serves 2 purposes. First, it serves the purpose to facilitate the ramp that goes down, but there's also an access easement that straddles the property line. It's 4 feet wide, 2 feet on our side, 2 feet on theirs. So that wall will provide a protective fence, as well as that 2 feet that's required as an access agreement that's associated with the property. We will be fully maintaining that in the proposed condition. The courtyard is a great feature of this application as well. It kind of acts in a way as a green roof because it is above the parking area, but it introduces these different plantings and again, offers that active and passive seating, dining nodes, shade areas, and the full landscaping plan. You see there are native hardy plants that will be fully irrigated so they are successful for the long term. There is a central water feature. That's what you see in the blue there as well. And there's a lot of opportunities here to program this and really make it look great for the use of the residents. Post lighting will be provided within that courtyard as well, giving low lighting for pedestrian comfort, not intended to be bright, obtrusive lighting, but low lighting that can be programmed as well to give the pedestrians comfort when it does get dark. And finally, we're gonna collect the runoff of this area and discharge it via the stormwater management system overall. So there won't be water that you see now flowing over the site and over the sidewalk and into the road. We're gonna collect all of that and put it in a conveyance system that then discharges to the southwest corner of the site. Loading and operations and deliveries are sort of tucked away on Mount Airy Road that's located at the bottom left of your page. There's essentially like a usable access here off Mount Airy Road, as well as an enclosed and covered loading area. So residents that come in for move in and move out can either utilize that area and there's a door into that, or they can actually back their vehicle or the box truck that they rented from U-Haul into that area, and then all of the loading operations occur in here. That will be the same for deliveries, trash pickup. It'll all utilize that area, and there's the ability to pull into that covered space to utilize that, but there'll also be parking located outside the building for quick pickups and things like that. But we've tried to provide an area on site for that that's sort of tucked away from the main intersection, services the building in a covered and manageable way, and there'll obviously be internal management of the trash rooms, and you'll hear more about that from our architect.
And just relative to that, this will be managed by Advanced, correct?
Yes,
Coordination with respect to residential move-ins would all be coordinated through the property management company.
that's correct.
Limitations on number of move-ins on any given day.
Yeah, typically there are 3 and they're given 3-hour windows if there's any move in, move out. So there's not a conflict there. So everything is scheduled and well regulated by the management team.
Trash removal would be handled by way of private waste hauler.
That's correct.
Coordinated by building management as well.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
And then just to speak a little bit to the site management as well, the building management, you'll hear more as we go. But this will be done in a very advanced way. It's a virtual tenant portal. So you'll have access to track work orders and other things that go on inside the building, and management, contact management, and things like that. It's a very dynamic, essentially an app on your phone that you use for the overall site management here. Finally, stormwater for this site. We do have an overall reduction in impervious coverage, especially because we introduced that green space in the courtyard. So we naturally meet the various NJDEP regulations here. We are removing a significant amount of motor vehicle surface. That's basically what the DEP is looking for, is to remove that. And all of this patio area as well as the roof area is a much cleaner and more controlled runoff. So we're going to reduce the load of sediment, debris, and other things inside the conveyance system that's located along the frontage of this site. We're also going to be reducing the overall volume going there just by a reduction in impervious coverage. So the stormwater management system collects everything on site and pipes it out to that bottom left corner of your site, similar to the existing drainage plan, but not over land and not carrying the debris of the existing parking lot.
So it collects and discharge.
It collects and
It does
discharges.
not collects and release.
It does not what?
It's not collects and release.
It does not. There are no
There's-
detention basins or.
There's nothing
Yeah.
to release them. Okay.
That's correct. Finally, utilities are publicly available along the frontages. We show those connections on our plans today, and we'll be coordinating closely with the various utility authorities that are in charge of each one of those services to ensure that those lines are installed to their purview. And then, John, what I'll do is I'll turn it over to anything I missed on the operational side, and we can open it to questions.
I think you've covered it for right now, Paul.
Thank you.
You have had a chance to review the review report by the board engineer, correct?
We have, yes.
Do you care to address those items? I believe in large part, we have a lot of will complies.
Yeah, there was.
Speak to
I think
that.
just for the chairman, just for the record, you're referring to the January 26, 2024 report of Boswell Engineering, Mr. Brennan.
That is correct, Mr. Warner.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think in all of the review letters, other than the items that were specific testimony was requested, which I'll put on if there's anything that your professionals think I've missed. We don't object to any of the comments, and we intend to work with your professionals to comply with those comments.
So we'll comply to everything, you'll testify to whatever is necessary,
Yes, anything that needs clarification.
vis-a-vis Mr. Bright, the board members, the public, or anyone else, correct?
One thing I would like to confirm, Mr. Mutch, it's actually item 10 on page 4. There is a question regarding a formal easement. There is no formal easement, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And all the title research as well as the Alta and just research in general on the property. There's no formal easement between the Masonic Lodge, which is located to the east of the side and this side as far as access. So as we develop this project, we're not in breach of anything historically on the site.
Nevertheless, in the event one is determined to exist or found, you'll abide by.
We'll abide by the terms of anything. I think there is actually something covering the alley there.
Yes.
You have a 4-foot alley,
Mhm.
which you addressed with the 2-foot separation distance.
Yes, that will be maintained. There's no access agreement for the two parking lots are not connected.
This is, you're talking about lot 4 in the rear of the Masonic Lodge building.
Yes, that's correct.
Do they have any other access to that parking area?
I believe, yes, there's a curb cut that's provided, yes.
So is there, you have a retaining wall, so there'll be a significant difference in grade.
I'm sorry, can I couldn't hear you too also.
Yeah,
I can follow up, I think, on the attorney's comment. There's gonna be a difference in grade between the proposed elevations and where that driveway is now.
There will be, yes. And we've actually, that's part of the tweaks that we made to the plan. We've shortened that ramp and brought up the elevation of that garage a little bit since the original submission. Again, to limit the size of that wall, also make it a little bit easier for stormwater management and just maintenance of that driveway in general. So we are looking to do that. And then again, there'll be a fence and anything else that's required along that wall to ensure that it's safe, and maintains that access area to your
If
point.
there was an access to lot 4, that's gonna be cut off by the retaining wall, guide rail and security.
That's correct. The proposed elevations at that southeast corner of your plan, that where the connection currently is, there won't be an interconnection there anymore just because of the wall and the different developments that we're doing.
And Paul, I'm sorry, one operational issue I do want you to speak to
Yeah.
is actually the parking access to the parking structure, both for the commercial and the residential. I think you spoke to it, but I just want to clarify. We've got a shared arrangement. It's actually part of the redevelopment plan,
Yes.
correct? So public parking will have access, and we're not gonna actually have segregated parking for commercial and residential. It's essentially a first come, first served. It's the intention at this time, is that correct?
Yes, and there was, in the overall parking total, there was 102 parking spaces required for the residential. And 32 parking spaces required for the commercial portion per the redevelopment plan. We've provided all of that in kind of a commingled parking garage, and we actually have +5 spaces on top, just what we're able to do with the parking.
We're gonna come back to this in the future. I appreciate that you've taken that approach. I believe we can come up with a better approach that will in fact allow segregation of retail from tenant. So we'll come back to it. I also, and Bob, I'll look to you. I think there are a lot of items here that there are a lot as always that they can comply with, but there were some items. Are you comfortable with that? It sounds like, I want to give you a shot. They're saying they're gonna.
No, we're happy to, yeah.
I'm not sure where to start, but.
Well, we're number one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we can go through point by point. A number of them are architectural comments, obviously, Mr. Bradley, so we'll get to them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Are there any that they're difficult? Typically, they're even amenable and you adjust something, you put something on a plan. Is there anything that you feel in your report that you want them to explicitly?
First on stormwater, they will have to demonstrate compliance.
Okay.
Just by a reduction in impervious surface. It's a good start. They are connecting out onto the existing drainage system on Morristown Road. I'm not sure how much goes there now and what's gonna, what they're adding to that area, but, I think stormwater can be addressed. I guess the two big issues are the access to the parking garage. I thought that was a little tight, the way that the parking, wall of buildings up against the driveway. And the loading area, I think we need some exhibits to demonstrate how that's gonna work.
Yeah, and we can certainly provide truck turning exhibits that show that.
I think there'll be a lot of questions about the loading area, which we'll cover.
Okay.
Well, there were a couple of things, and one was the turning radius,
Okay.
was something we typically want to see, and that's not something that, you can just comply by filling the engineer on.
I have this.
And there was also a comment about frontage. I'm not exactly sure. You said that the frontage is non-compliant with 8,000 square feet. and
I'm sorry, can you, you said that
The frontage of 8,000 feet was apparently not compliant, and you referred to say, well,
Once they said that they complied with that, and I deferred to the board planner on how to analyze that.
That's something that's a conversation we'll have with the architect.
I'm sorry, I couldn't,
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear you, so I could hear without the microphone.
That'll be a conversation with the architect. And we have to go through the plan and compliance with these standards, including site plans.
And, I think the answer is yes, but Bob, are you okay with the, and it may have been revised, is, with the, pitch of the driveway, the landings or elevations or any of that or is that still a work in progress?
Still a work in progress, because I haven't seen any plans that address these comments.
Oh, right, you wanted the cross sections.
There were, I pointed out what I thought were some access issues with the grading plan.
Right.
The arched walkway in, you didn't seem to get the elevation, get into the building entrances. It didn't look like they were really compliant, so if it's architectural, engineering, there's quite a few comments on the grading.
But in your mind, in your report, you feel that the driveway design is achievable.
Well, just like the turning templates that I put on there look like that kiosk would be in the way. Now, they did mention that they opened it up, but we haven't
Right.
seen that.
We'll see that, okay. So
And
one
I can
question is,
share-
Is there a door that's on that entryway? Is there's a kiosk, but is there also, are there doors? No,
Oh, you're talking about like roll down doors?
yeah, like all that.
Not at this, no.
No, it just wasn't evident because it wasn't there.
No.
It's okay, that's good.
And also, just to speak to this truck circulation, I do have truck circulation plans, if you'd like to look at them here, I can mark it as exhibit A3,
Yeah, why
just
don't
as an
you do
example.
that, Paul?
Yeah.
'Cause it's come
So
up.
we'll mark these exhibit A3, they are truck circulation exhibits, 2 sheets, one shows the loading area, which obviously our architect will detail the operations of that room next to there, but what this truck turning template shows is an SU30 box truck, so a little bit larger than your largest U-Haul truck. It shows it pulling forward into this area and then backing into this covered loading area, this enclosed loading area here. So that's the intention for the largest truck that we see here. Obviously, there'll be other smaller vehicles that'll be able to maneuver a little bit more easily in this area, but it does accommodate your largest moving vehicle that we'll see. And again, it pulls straight in and backs in. And then the second sheet of this exhibit shows the vehicles coming down, and we've provided enough width in this driveway. And also, I want to just note that one of the tweaks we did make to the plan based on some of the even before we received the grading comments is we eased the slope. So prior to this exhibit and this site plan revision, it was a straight slope from the moment you entered all the way down until you made your turn. We've now shortened that slope and lifted the garage just a little bit to allow for a nice flat area where this line is displayed, but prior to you having to make that turn. So the ease of that turning movement, as well as the opening, which our architect will show, is sized for your largest vehicle. The vehicle I'm showing on this plan is a P car in the model, which is your largest SUV. And we feel that this plan and this access plan does work as part of this, and we've looked to even ease that further because we saw the same concerns that your engineer and we're displaying tonight. It was a little bit too sloped, so we've looked to address that. So those are the two exhibits I have for that. We're happy to submit that to your board professionals and have that dialogue as well on that access.
Yeah, just mark them, I guess, you know, whatever.
Yeah, this is eighth.
We got it, April.
I would suggest we may ask for higher clearance than a P vehicle, so. We may ask for a higher clearance than a P vehicle. Which I don't think will be onerous for you for this.
Yeah, certainly we'll have that conversation.
Did you want to continue with this on operations or what?
Well, I think we've addressed the engineer's letter. I don't know if there are any other comments or concerns. We can go through each one of them, Mr. Brightly, unless you're comfortable.
I don't know how you can. I like to say I'm comfortable with that, but I haven't seen any plans. If you go through all the grading comments, are we gonna address them all with the changes? So what are anything that you can address?
Yeah, there was nothing when we reviewed your letter as well as the other letters received, there was nothing in those letters we felt that we couldn't achieve and we couldn't address. To your satisfaction, obviously.
Page 1, A is general call factual comments, right up. B on page 2, site plan drawings. They're saying they'll comply with everything. Is there anything in that, Bob, that needs further discussion at this point for you?
No, I would point out that there's not a lot of engineering on this site because the building takes up, a vast portion. So we have the driveway in, we have the loading area. So glancing at the exhibit from here, I'm not gonna be able to comment on that. And then the grading issues and.
So.
I have a quick one.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
It's 5A, and just one of the points of many that I'll have. Is the applicant willing to consider a full-length marquee structure along the north elevation instead of canopies?
Okay, so 5A, we eliminated actually, Chairman, that actually was part and parcel to our, those design waivers that I mentioned we had earlier.
No, regardless of whether it's compliant or not, is the applicant willing to consider a marquee instead of distinct canopies?
I think it's certainly.
On the site? In other words,
Chairman,
continuous coverage.
Yeah, well, why don't
If
we,
you want to pull it out of this report, we'll discuss it as a separate.
it's a good point. We'll speak to it in our architect. By the time we get to, Mr. Smith, we'll speak to that.
Sorry, go ahead, Bob. I mean, maybe a breath to look.
Oh, why don't we just pick up in section 3, Paul? B1 will comply, sheet C1, that's, just that statement there, correct?
Yes.
So we'll comply there. Item 2.
Both item 2 and 3 relate to the truck turning exhibits that we've just discussed. 4 will be architectural testimony. 5 relating to the electrical vehicles, we are comfortable complying with that to the satisfaction of your engineer. Same thing for 6 and 7. There's multiple comments on electrical vehicle. We intend to fully comply with the state law and the comments of your engineer. Shared parking arrangement, I think the chairman had said that we're gonna get into that as we go through the application this evening in further detail, especially as we get to the architectural. We'll show you the structure of that parking. 9, the setback distance of that access driveway along the east of your property line. I think we've talked about that and we're gonna talk about it more as we go through as far as these templates go. 10, that's the opening the curb line that we covered as far as the access to the neighboring lot. 11, 12, 13, All of those are related to the frontage. We're happy to comply with those. 14 through 16 as well. We intend to comply and we feel comfortable with being able to do so. The courtyard,
How do you comply with 16?
so 16 was the one I was just gonna comment on. So what we are proposing currently in that courtyard is not commercial lighting or any downlighting like that. It's all sort of architecturally themed bollard and wall mounted lights, low lighting that's meant for pedestrian comfort and not really for, you know, an illumination or heavy use by like a commercial use. So we can prepare an exhibit, we can prepare a lighting plan that shows that. But it's all very low light levels for pedestrian comfort rather than like a commercial activity. But to the comfort of the board and your engineer, we can prepare a lighting plan.
Yeah, that comment was basically, the plan was saying, we're gonna prepare this when we go for a building permit. And we thought that should be on the plan, the board should have it.
Yeah, and we can certainly provide that, you know, without issue.
And is it fair, if I may, is it fair to assume that the, foot candle requirements would be abided by in that lighting plan?
Yes,
Foot candle requirements set forth in the redevelopment plan.
yes.
Thank you.
17. Distance.
What does that mean?
Distance. What?
What does 17 mean?
17, I think there was a call out or a dimension that may have been wrong. I believe that dimension should be 16.1 feet. I'm just looking at what I saw here. But we intend to, we comply with the redevelopment plan, but one of our called out values of the distance between the buildings was a typo as far as that 32.5 feet.
And the 16.1 would be compliant?
Yes, I believe everything is compliant. I'd have to,
What is the separation permitted, so that we know what's the 16.1, how it complies?
yeah, let me take a look here. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what that requirement was, if anybody wants to help out. Oh, okay, that was the minimum distance between building and the area and bulk requirements. The requirement is 0 feet. And we're providing 16.1. In the previous iteration, we showed 32.2, but that was an incorrect dimension.
And just questioning the dimension.
Yeah,
Got it, it would have been compliant either way.
it's compliant either way, but that opening there is larger, it's just a typo.
Thank you.
18,
Oh, 18 is a good one to talk about. So in the underlying zoning ordinance, the height requirements are based on an average grade calculation. So as part of the redevelopment plan, we went through the process of making that calculation and then discussing what that existing grade, that average grade should be for this application. So our application in the redevelopment plan actually simplifies the definition of where the building height is, and we essentially set a height that we then worked off of, and that's what these plans represent. And you'll see that on the architecturals of where that height was chosen, but this comment is the pre-development grade. We went through that process and included a number for the elevation in the redevelopment plan that then this plan is based off of, and that elevation is based on the high side of the site, and that's what we worked off of.
So what's the number?
408.
Is it 408? Yeah, yes, 408. I'm gonna check. Yeah, the
408 was the benchmark,
Yeah.
Mr. Exactly.
yes.
That calculation's been done already.
It's on the plan, they're using 407, 408.
I'm sorry, I didn't, I don't know if Paul.
It looked compliant to me.
Paul's blocking you.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
A lot of man in the way.
But I have to.
Sound attenuation, I think they call that.
Yeah, exactly.
18 grading plan. There's several grading comments in number 19. I think we'll be able to elaborate a little bit this in the architectural testimony as far as the elevations of the different features, the patios, the entrances to different features. I think we'll walk through that and we'll kind of show how it intermingles, but the intention is for this plan to be ADA compliant everywhere that it is, and will address any inconsistencies that your engineer had picked up in those comments.
Well, 19 goes from A to R.
Yes, and I have,
Bob, you good?
Just the one comment on that courtyard area.
Which letter?
I guess it would be O.
Thank you.
Yes. So we'll provide some clarification on the grading plan. The intention is to have positive pitch within that courtyard and then small drains that collect the runoff associated with it, mainly in that main trunk that comes out. And we'll interconnect that with the stormwater management system. But we're gonna collect all of that runoff in there and we can detail that better.
So I read the plan correctly, it's kind of surrounded by either retaining walls or the building.
Yes, that's correct. The courtyard, that walking surface you see with the two circles in it, that's essentially lower than the surrounding grade. There's essentially like a 3-foot wall where we put some plantings and some planters and things like that to give some of that passive seating that we're talking about. You'll also notice, and I'll zoom in here, there's some dining areas that are provided, and those are also encircled by essentially 3-foot stone walls or something of the like. So it gives kind of an architectural feature as you go around. There's essentially a grade change as you go into some of these areas. It gives that, like we're trying to get for that passive seating and give it some character. So that's what we're doing there. So all of that drainage that's associated there, as well as in the landscaping area, we're going to collect that, put it in the stormwater management system.
And item M and N, we'll come back to that for loading. Item P, I agree that there seems to be a requirement for more detail for the terrace area. In item P,
Which section P are we on?
19P,
Page 6.
page 6.
Seating area between the
Covered
fitness
seating
center and
area,
Palmer
it's just,
Building.
yeah, it's just nebulous in that area of the plans.
Yes, so I think our architect will detail how those different features will function as far as the internal.
Elevations, all the things he points out.
Yes,
So the point is, okay, you'll comply.
yes.
And Q, item Q, where is your intent that the retail establishments be entered from?
From the right of way, right? Is there any other?
Yeah, so our architect will speak to
Yeah.
that because we don't have tenants identified yet, so it may vary, but there will be storefronts. And Mr. Smith will cover that, Chairman, when we get to it.
So you're envisioning them entering from the exterior
Correct,
of the building, right?
that's right.
So there'll be some follow-up to demonstrate that.
Yeah, we'll have follow-up testimony from the architect.
In terms of access.
20 is generally the typical utility connection comments, where the meter's gonna be, they're gonna be a hot box. If you return that.
Yeah, the hot box information we haven't, and I'll leave it to architect if we determine the meter locations, but certainly something that as we get further into this, there'll be some conversations with the utility providers.
And we're obviously gonna put them in the logical locations that make the most sense for the connections. Although it's not uncommon, whether it's PSCNG or JCP&L, sometimes they will tell us this is where these meters have to go, Mr. Brightly. But we'll obviously work with them and that would be coordinated as well with your office.
There's an issue with enclosure and backflow preventers.
Well, yeah, typically, you should determine, if you're gonna have a internal backflow preventer, which we recommend, because I don't see a place for a hot box anywhere in front of your.
Yeah, the architect has to make room for that.
We'll talk about it.
You had a discussion, this is 20B, you had a discussion with fire officials. Did you cover in those discussions overhead lines, any concerns they may have had?
Yeah, I attended that meeting with the fire officials. I don't remember the overhead wires being an issue or coming up, but we can certainly coordinate that with them. Obviously, we're gonna work with them directly.
Okay, so that would be how you would address that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think D is.
And just, the one thing I do want to make note of, so we did have, I mentioned it in my opening comments, and I'm only bringing it up since you raised the fire official comments. We did receive a number of comments. We are going to be enhancing, some aspects, of the design to address those comments. Really more architectural building, aspects in terms of, sprinkler heads into interstitial spaces, sheetrocking and so forth, but we'll touch on that and we'll address it when we reach Mr. Smith and his testimony.
And Bob, you want, in D, I know it's architectural drawing. B2, you want more detail on the stairs too.
Yeah, it's probably architectural, testing, but,
Okay.
it's hard to determine what's going on with that parking structure.
Yeah.
From this, our architectural plan has more detail than the civil.
Did you get anything in number 5, D5? Did you get anything with regard to cellular RF radiation shielding for the towers next to your unit?
Chairman, I'm sorry, what section is that?
Section D.
Architectural drawings.
Section 5, testimony of which outside agency approval.
Oh, okay.
Did
we're
you
down
get
to
anything,
section
it's
E.
not listed there, did you get anything regarding the cellular tower RF maximum human exposure?
I don't believe so at this time.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, is that with respect to a facility on the Masonic line?
the Masonic towers are
Oh,
loaded
okay.
up there, and so there was no problem as long as it was what it was, commercial and stuff, but now that you're
Right.
putting people near it, I would suggest that, I mean, it's gonna be touchy and so forth, but I would suggest that it's gonna have to be shielded. Because the RF radiation is too intense and too close to some of your units on your top floors.
All right, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah,
Chairman.
it's a shock, it's sudden, so I understand that, I'm just saying. Something to think about, it's a safety item, we have a number of issues that are safety items and other optimizations.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, on E, so not talking about the first one, the traffic exit, but 2 through 8. Are we stipulating, again, just reconfirming, we're stipulating to fully comply with all the above?
Yes, and there's gonna be additional architectural testimony that will clarify some of the loading operations and things like that, as far as how that room's used.
But 5, all the outside agency approvals, 6, the lot merger, 7, the as-built, the developer's agreement and associated requirements.
Correct,
5,
all in agreement, Mr. Warner.
Just one comment on that, too, though. E1, I did point out, there was a traffic report submitted on a lot of traffic engineering, I did not review that. It's not something they can comply with.
No, absolutely, I knew they had a traffic, I said other than E1.
Thank you.
Yes, if I wasn't clear, my apology, and I know you have the traffic exit, but I
Right.
don't know if, if the board is of mindset to have a review by a traffic engineer, through Boswell Engineering or otherwise, but with respect to that.
So, obviously, it's whatever the board's pleasure is. We do have a project here that has been zoned for this. So, we are compliant with the number of units. We're compliant with the floor area. Relative to commercial, we're compliant with the parking. When the ordinance is adopted, you assume you're gonna have this level of traffic that's associated with it. We will speak to it Again, I'll defer to the board. It's always
We're
the
gonna get
board's
into
pleasure.
traffic.
There's
Any other
one
traffic
aspect.
engineer?
We have the traffic engineer. Why don't we have him
We'll
speak?
go
and
through
we
it.
can-
There's one aspect to this, though. The redevelopment plan requires a submittal of a traffic report, which you comply.
I'm sorry, do you mind,
Yeah,
it's hard for me to hear.
There's another aspect to this. It's not just that, I'm well aware of the Dunkin' Donuts, case, and, you know, the traffic and everything that's associated with the permitted use is something that you kind of work with, but the redevelopment plan specifically asks for a traffic report, they've submitted it, but one of the purposes of that was not just to get a handle on the levels of traffic, but to identify potential improvements to intersections surrounding that maybe the responsibility of this development. And it speaks to that in the development report. So I would expect that the traffic engineer will address that, but sometimes you want your own eyes on it to see whether or not we've properly identified what might be needed there. And it's a board decision. I understand what Mr. Viscal is saying. I'm just pointing out that there was more, it was just not just measuring the level of service. It was what do we need to do with the intersections, if anything, with traffic timing, the lights and things of that nature that we need to adjust as a result of this development.
I'm sorry, I just have to plug this in.
Wait, you need a moment?
I have to plug that in, but yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
We can just take a moment. You can also let us know when your fingers are about to fall off.
Oh, there's an outlet behind you.
There's something, thanks. Thanks.
They all okay? So they have plugs.
What's up? It's fine.
You guys didn't unplug these, did you?
Nothing, we didn't move anything.
No.
It's a fresh outlet over there.
Yeah, we just went to the one over here, Denise.
Thank you.
They're not blinking anymore, so whatever happened, they reset all the lights.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have bumped that one.
Double check.
Are we good, Denise?
We appear to be.
Okay.
Great.
So I think it's about, I just listened to what your statement is and summarizing in the sense of compliance and, you know, all this other stuff.
All right.
We're here to make sure that your plan as presented, engineered and so forth, is the best plan for Bernardsville and the public.
Understood,
We're
Chairman.
also understand that as your business, the principals need to, they're making a huge investment. They need a certain return on investment. And they have a certain expectation of profits. The town, the borough is also your partner, financial partner
Very much.
in this. So we're obligated to them as well. However, this design could be dramatically improved while retaining the financial characteristics in terms of units, in terms of that's, you know, the types of units and so forth, and in terms of your investment to construct it. And I'm asking you, how do you want us to present you with the optimizations that can occur to make this plan of maximum benefit to the Bernardsville public, assuming we're holding your investment partner?
Chairman, if I'm constrained to advise the public with your permission, please, withhold cheers, boos, anything. This is a quasi judicial proceeding. The applicant is presenting evidence to the board will decide the application. There are criteria and standards that the board is well aware of to do so with the help of their professionals. Please, if we can maintain the forum as if it were a court of law. Thank you.
Well, Chairman, this is what I can say. So we've got an application before you. We've got a design. It's really largely the same design that we've had since the inception relative to the redevelopment plan. We will certainly take comments as we go, and we always hear your comments. We take them back, et cetera. You've heard from my engineer so far. I saw the traffic engineer, I still have an architect. We haven't even put up the architectural plans yet. So I would ask that we be permitted to proceed in that fashion. This is a project that has been, years in the making. We're here tonight, and I do appreciate it. I know the public is here and everybody's interested. We're interested in hearing comments, and we'll respond to them accordingly. But I think that's my response. Mr. Much is here. If there are more architectural engineering questions, we can,
Lots of
we'll answer them.
Lots of engineering suggestions.
Right.
Yes, and the architect, I'm glad the architect is here because
Right,
they will have architectural implications.
yeah, understood.
So
So,
the
Yeah.
traffic engineer, it's premature. In terms of the optimizations potentially will significantly affect traffic in a good way, but significantly.
right, okay, but we are gonna have our traffic engineer testify though.
Not tonight.
And why
You
is
were
that?
warned, right?
No. No,
Weren't you warned?
I'm not,
We did warn the applicant, right?
Well, there were discussions that we didn't necessarily anticipate concluding tonight. My understanding is the applicant wished to proceed with all,
Yeah,
to
you were
bring
welcome
all their
to
witnesses
for sure.
and proceed as quickly as they could.
Right.
Or, or as efficiently as they could.
And we will not be hearing your traffic engineer tonight because our traffic engineer is not present at the moment.
so you have hired,
No, we
you
have.
have retained a traffic
I
engineer?
think, Mr. Chairman, I think, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the chairman was referring to a board member who
Right.
might have a particular expertise like many board members have,
Oh, I know.
personal
Well,
knowledge and
He's
expertise.
a professional engineer.
I know Mr. Simoff, yes, I worked with him in the past.
And I
yeah.
didn't foresee that and you couldn't
Right.
either, but,
No, I didn't know, although,
and he'll have to review the whatever. The point is, and I do want you to confer with your client. There's a substantial list of optimizations relevant to engineering, relevant to the design, with implications for architecture. One of which you've seen in the HPAC letter.
right,
And I want to know if, as long as we maintain return on investment for this project, are they willing to entertain
I'm not,
optimizations? And
well, I don't, Chairman, I don't know what the optimizations are, so we're
I just said-
presenting it,
how do you
so.
want us to proceed? There's a long list of,
Well, who-
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah.
if I understand correctly, first of all, and the applicant can speak to this, that there's a redevelopment plan. The applicant is representing that they are, for lack of a better phrase, substantially in compliance with the plan.
Yeah.
That governs and Mr. Zabel as the planner could certainly weigh in as well. I'm not one, but I'm just an attorney. But they are complying, or substantially complying with the plan. Now, if I understand the chairman correctly, there may be considerations and requests from the board with respect to various aspects of the plan. If I understand Mr. Waxala, on behalf of his clients, he's saying he will listen to those, they will take those into consideration, and they will respond. We don't know what. If I may, Mr. Chairman, what the requests and concerns and considerations may be from the board and others, and we don't know yet what the responses will be. But there is there are parameters, always for the board, and Mr. Waxala can let us know if he, on behalf of the applicant, if at any point he thinks the board might be exceeding the authority and the jurisdiction of the board, given that the zoning has already been set forth in the redevelopment plan. That said, the board certainly can ask for reasonable accommodations, and certainly the applicant has the right to stipulate to those reasonable considerations.
Correct.
Thank you.
Do you wanna go with them? Or are you're okay with us? Are you okay with us communicating to you the optimizations that for your consideration?
So you can communicate them to me now,
Or-
or with another witness. I'm not sure how you intend, I'm not trying to be difficult there.
No, I know.
Is there
Not an easy question.
No, and listen, this has been a collaborative effort. That's the way the redevelopment law works. And we certainly view this as a partnership. We've got a design. I'm happy to hear those comments, however, whatever they may be. We'll consider them. We'll look at them. Just don't know what they are.
Yeah, you can't. You don't know yet. Right, I understand. All right, and if they're nodding, yeah, as long as, the key is, there are a couple of goals, like I said, there's what the Bernardsville public may want. There's what the council wants. There's what your investors want, the partners, and it's a delicate balance to try to adjust a proposal that's compliant. To create a win-win-win situation. There will, as with any change request, if you embrace the change, there will be adjustments to various documents and plans and so forth.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
while we have the engineer here and you have ideas as to the optimization you're referring to, why don't those be presented from the engineering point of view based on the testimony with questions and expectations so that we can have a dialogue? And if all we get through is engineering, fine. So the applicant and their engineer has the benefit of the thoughts and the board's thoughts on what optimization we're talking about.
Sure.
Because we're beyond the point of a concept plan. We have a filed application, we have a redevelopment agreement, we have a designated redeveloper. This is a little different than your basic zoning. Because this is a negotiated and collaborative process between the governing body, redeveloper and the board. So while we have the engineer here, why don't we have that dialogue and treat it like Q&A and why can't we do this and is this possible? Let's get that out on the table. And however long it takes, it takes.
And I like the word you used, it's a concept document.
Well, it's not a concept.
Well, no,
It's not. This is an engineered.
Legally, it's not.
So
All right, then it's.
So we need to do this in the context of a public hearing.
Yes. But, and again, to reiterate what Mr. Zabo said earlier, the zoning has been established. And the board, can make requests, but the board can't necessarily ignore the zoning that's been established. And there are parameters under the law. But certainly I suspect the applicant is true to their word and they want to do as best they can for the borough. So perhaps they'll be amenable to at least some, if not more than some of these optimization requests.
Yeah, we will certainly consider them.
Okay.
Hear what you have to say.
As I go through these, feel free to say, we prefer the architect answer, you know,
Yep.
that question be directed at the architect. You can sit down. Maybe
Well,
if you want to cover.
Okay.
I'll take notes if we want to go through anything.
Okay.
Oh, I meant it's, that's okay. Once again, I'll reaffirm, we're trying to do a win-win-win situation. And so these are suggestions for how things could be changed and improved and optimized. There are a couple of overarching ones that, the first one of which is if all the financials of the application can be maintained, are you willing to consider a 15-foot additional setback of the Morristown frontage? If all the other aspects of the project can be maintained?
We'll take it
You can take that.
under advisement, Chairman. That's not part of the redevelopment plan and the design. That was just in terms of the overall layout. but-
Nothing is going to be,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I understand what you said. It's not a question of what you said. There's a concern that there's, for instance, not enough public space. Once people see it on a concept drawing, their perception is that is not what the vision is. And the vision, there is an opportunity for you to support a 15-foot setback of the above ground structures for the most part. And adjust the entire plan, maintaining the financial integrity of the project. The loading zone, you're compliant with, because that was part of the redevelopment plan, was to allow you to be compliant, as opposed to the Bernardsville ordinance for loading zones. The loading zone is going to be very problematic for Bernardsville residents, the way you have it. And this is a big one, so pay really close
Okay.
attention.
You haven't heard our traffic testimony, though, that I would suggest.
We've read it, okay, so
Very well,
we
Chairman.
can get into that later. I'm going to suggest that this is significant, that you in fact make the courtyard a public access space, that you use the art, it is a 14-foot clearance in it, and that you in fact adjust your vision of a private courtyard not available to Bernardsville, other Bernardsville, the public, and you make it into an area that still has elements of the landscaping elements, but has not only a loading zone, but K-turn capabilities for a loading zone, and also has just ADA parking in it to help justify the use.
I'm sorry, ADA parking where?
ADA parking, you would have some
In the
ADA
courtyard?
parking spaces in the courtyard. Change the concept of the courtyard.
Right.
Today, the courtyard is considered a private space for the use of the tenants. There are many of these are related and they solve interrelated opportunities. They create interrelated opportunities. This would solve your loading zone challenges. And there is one caveat. That is if the DOT will let you continue to have the cuts in that property today, which is where your arch is, basically, to allow that type of access to it. The additional setback gives you also increased line of sight, makes things safer, makes easier navigation at these access ways. That's fairly significant. Another significant and safety improvement is to take where you have your primary elevators, and you know where the primary elevators are, and relocate them into a more conventional spot for a development like this, which is to relocate them into the courtyard side of your southeast interior. And
We haven't even spoken to where these elevators are located yet. With all due respect.
the stairs were mentioned,
See
right?
where they are on the thing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it's solid, again, as I understand, what the chairman is doing is the chairman is making requests, in some cases might even be making these requests in advance of hearing
This is something
testimony
the whole board.
from your engineer and your architect, which might actually give them an opportunity to hear these requests in advance, which might actually be helpful for the process so that they can address the applicant's position as to why and why not they are doable, et cetera.
Understood. I'm sorry, Chairman, go ahead.
No, it's okay. This is unusual. This is an exceptional application. It's truly exceptional and it's very important and we just want to do the best we can. So I'm trying to do the best we can. The suggestion is that southeast interior corner where you have, like a 2-bedroom, whatever, obviously 4 stories, would be to relocate your entranceway there, to take that ground level, make it your lounge, mailroom, elevator, lobby, and trash chute down to LL1, which would be where you could actually pick trash up. We honestly would like bigger elevators for a safety perspective. We don't want the minimum size elevators. We want pretty big elevators for safety. We would like more retail space than the minimum. It's just somewhat distressing to the vitalization vision that the retail space is not expanded significantly. So there are a couple of issues on the retail space. One is where you've got your loading zone eliminates the retail space opportunity. And the loading zone creates actually a challenge for that space. In other words, in terms of vitalization, it's a dead location. And it's one of the items that makes that loading zone choice problematic for the community. We would like, as I understand it, and it's really not clear, is the fitness club private?
Yes, yeah, it's
That is what.
it's not a commercial.
That is what my expectation would have been. The recommendation is that you, on the 2nd floor or 3rd or 4th, above the lobby, near the elevator, is you put your fitness club there for your residents. So they have easy access to the elevators from their units. And the recommendation is, optimization is that you take your fitness space that you've got and make it retail. However you like, but increase the retail space for it. So 2 additional retail spaces. One is the current fitness center. The other one is the service MEP space that's currently adjacent to the loading dock area. Those are fairly large ones. There are about 20 items that can be, we think, optimized. One of the safety related ones is that along these, and you may have adjusted this, it's possible, along the southerly elevation on the tracks. You've got in the lowest left-hand corner, you've got a bump out for a 2-bedroom apartment. That bump out needs to be brought back for safety purposes. There has to be access along the tracks under those egress windows for all those bedrooms that are there. There's an easy way to do it, to once again preserving the financial integrity of the proposal. And the easy way is to annex the space that you can see on that chart there that's used for the trash chutes and for the elevator. And while retaining the stairs are appropriate for all levels to exit. That's part of that. Another major suggestion, and this is one of the keys to keeping you financially whole. For which I want to hear engineering and architectural, response. I would suggest that the southeast section could be built upon. That the units in that over the driveway and in the greenery that's there, if you give up the frontage with a setback, the unit space, the floor space and the units can be reconfigured over that entryway to recapture the finances. And maybe even improve it. Once again, it's fairly complex. Those are really the big items. I got a lot of other ones, but, another big one is there's a lot of, and you've seen this with HVAC. The impact of this project is visually massive. And the setback not only increases the public space, but perception wise, it reduces the visual impact because the frontage of the building is set back a bit. The visual impact of the Mount Airy section, which is your lower left-hand corner there, should be enhanced by eliminating, and this is a heavy lift, the bump out units. Basically, everything that's in that bump out section where you have your service dock and you have 4 units on top of it, those should basically all be eliminated and recovered somewhere else in the units. Such that that exposure, which is very high, I mean, it's 5 stories high. So that exposure is set back as well. And there's, of course, the benefit of some public space and access there. But it's extremely imposing on the Mount Airy side. And that can be done. So, let me think of other things that are of significance. Those are the really large, the big pieces of how to optimize this proposal from the point of Bernardsville. There are a number of safety issues that will need to be addressed. From our perspective, we'd like you to address them.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Go
I
ahead.
apologize for interrupting, but again, in fairness, using the term we and our, my understanding is these are issues you're raising, with respect to concerns you have with respect to suggested optimizations for consideration by the applicant.
Right.
Again, there's a body of law that governs this board. And redevelopment attorney, is not here, at least this evening. While I can speak to it to a degree, while our planner, Mr. Zabo, can speak to it to a degree, the redevelopment attorney may be able to speak to it to an even greater degree as to what authority this board under these circumstances has and what authority this board under these circumstances they do not have. This board does not have.
I don't think we have authority.
You have the authority to make requests.
Yeah,
Yes, and.
we don't have any enforcement. We have no mandate. We have no countervailing variances to offset leverage, in other words. So all this can be is we need to do the right thing for Bernardsville.
Right.
And the right thing goes beyond conceptual drawings that have not necessarily been thoroughly vetted by the public, or by us. And the statement that council made basically said, don't worry, it'll all be handled in the planning board. Okay, now, that may have been right or wrong, okay, based on, yes, what, quote, what leverage do we actually have legally? All we can do is essentially offer you suggestions, offer to keep you financially whole for an improved, in our vision, an improved project that still maintains luxury, still, and, provides a better outcome for Bernardsville residents. We want to make sure it's finishable. We do not want to jeopardize the council's partnership with you. But if you want me to say it again, no, we don't have a way of saying, you're gonna do this. We could point out that maybe there's some safety issues that you wanna address, you know, how's fire gonna be handled? We have emerging legislation that's not enforced yet, that would say you had to do various things, related to climate change and, safety. There's all that, but there's no way for us to essentially compel or withhold approval of your application. So that's a little bit awkward for us. We normally do have someone has got something, you know, even if it's one thing, it's like, wow, I'd really like you to not make me put all my light bulbs underground. Well, okay, in that case, could you do this? Change the lighting on the bollards or something. We don't have that leverage. We only have the leverage of collaboration, goodwill, and your stated objective to deliver a luxury, high quality project. So I don't know if I can.
I would remind
Go ahead.
that, under the plan, as far as the loading document, loading zone goes, that is, as far as the loading, zone goes, is that the plan explicitly requires that be to the satisfaction of the planning board. So, I mean, we do have some control over loading.
So, as I said, the board has the authority it has, and it doesn't have the authority it doesn't have. And, but I think the chairman, addressed that.
Just
And,
honestly,
the applicant can certainly make their own arguments.
and, that this is new territory for me, for a lot of us, in terms of being in this well-prepared situation with optimization opportunities. And, we could conduct this in a slightly different way, if you like. It was too far along, as you've all described, in order for us to do what we would normally do, which would to have work meetings. You know, where we would go through it. You were so far down the path that it was not an option for us to do it. I mean, we wouldn't compel you to do that anyway. It's purely an applicant's initiative to do that. One recommendation optimization is to put in your northeast corner. If you set back the facade, the front, in your northeast corner, to put an elevator there that goes from lower level 1. It's actually the mid-level. As you know, your parking garage it's hard to see on these drawings, but it's structured as you come in at the lower level. And then you ramp down to a mid-level, like a mezzanine, sort of. And then you ramp down to LO2, at the lowest level. It has to be that way. No complaints, it's just that is a design that pretty much has to occur. I'm suggesting, this was actually my idea, was that we address the segregation of retail from tenants by coming down the access, the driveway, going into lower level 1, making a sharp right-hand turn to a downslope, not an upslope, to a downslope to the mid-level, which is not a big deal in terms of, you just change how you rearrange how you're using your ramps. Such that retail parking could be on the ramp down to the mid-level and the mid-level. And then at the mid-level, before you ramp onto, down to LL2, you could have at least kind of, that said, look, beyond this point,
I'm sorry, you could have, sorry.
beyond this point, it's tenants only. So it helps solve that traffic segregation issue so that retail people are not just running around all down LL2. I know you said, oh, we're.
Well, we're comfortable with it
Yeah.
in terms of the operations and we have the
Yes.
same arrangement elsewhere. So I'm not sure what the issue is.
The issue is in fact, to keep it separate. So that retail spaces are retail spaces. It's also such that, there's an after hours delivery. Needs to be a capability. They need to go down there. They need to deliver to that location after hours when the courtyard's closed, essentially. There are like, this type of renter, you've already made a strong case for. They're very different than what one might think normal renters are. And you made the case in terms of the reduced parking commitment. You made the case that, oh, these are different. They're going to be Ubering everywhere. They're going to, and they will be doing a lot of deliveries, food deliveries, so forth, pickups and so forth. One way to handle that is to allow deliveries to occur into the courtyard, into the new lobby. Another way is when the courtyard, you can shut the courtyard down for the privacy of your tenants at some hour. At which time, now where do the delivery guys go? Where do they bring your midnight pizza? And there needs to be an answer. They're not gonna go to the loading dock, that's for sure. They basically would go down to L1, they need a short-term parking area there, and you've got to figure out how the pizza gets delivered. Up to, do they come down, pick it up, what do they do? It's very different than, oh, here's the on-street. You don't have an on-street, they can't stop on the street and walk in and deliver something. So it's for your consideration, I think. You could do it, you get more parking spaces if you do it a certain way. There's a way to gain more parking. More parking is good, even though, yeah, you're required to have a certain amount of parking. You have 10 more places, that's good too. It's an optimization. It's something that you might not have thought of, that you could look at. That's a good example of something, hey, gee, what if we did it that way? There's some issues now. If you made that right-hand turn, you'd go like kind of up a ramp and then the ceiling's dropping on you. And I mean, there are those kind of things too, that when you really look at a walkthrough of that location. Other safety issues are something to think about. This is deluxe. You're going to lose power to this complex. It will happen. Not if, it will. So what are your tenants, your future prospective deluxe upscale tenants expecting to happen when power is lost to this facility for an extended period of time, days? If you're lucky, days. We're very low down in Bernardsville on the tier of restoration of power. Downtown, it's like a week. Up in the mountain, it's 3 weeks to get power back. You are gonna lose power. We're not gonna be able as a town to support 180 people, 200 people. Now, they may just own this and they're in Florida, whatever. Where are these people gonna go when they have no power? So, a thought, just think about what you're gonna do.
Remind you that the plan requires you to provide for emergency power. I know that wasn't addressed, but there's.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that in testimony, but we'll address it when we get to our architect.
So think about it, you've got space that's not designated, that's in your lower southwest corner. It's just there. Think about how you could do a make ready for emergency power. Or how you could implement it. If you implement it, how many kilowatts do you want to implement? And how do you structure it? There are engineering solutions that are possible. But it will be immediately uninhabitable when you lose power. And all those people that are there are gonna have to go somewhere. We have to think about, as a planning board, we now have to think about this. Because you're upscale, it's potentially a selling point. We could be, lemons and lemonade. Think about that and think about, okay, where's the water coming from? Your water's coming from a well, which is electric, and it's gonna run for a while. But then there's no well water. What are you doing then? And you can set a horizon, you say, look, well, it's up to you. It's an opportunity to optimize.
Okay, well, I think you've given us a lot of things to think about, Chairman.
I think so. I think that's the essence, and maybe it's sending you a letter, saying you may decide what the most efficient way to provide optimization suggestions to you are. I think we've hit the big ones. HPAC hit a big one, which is the route. And the whole idea is, how do we bring with good taste, how do we bring the perception of the height of the building down? And as Dan Lincoln suggested, you can do it by changing your architectural roof design. And it will be perceived to be a lower roof, especially in the dramatically high areas. It's good, but here's a different roof, you could use skylights, you could do all sorts of great stuff.
Okay. So.
I have one other suggestion. There are a lot, but one of them in particular, the concept plan has a terrace in a tower essentially on the northeast corner. And yet it doesn't have the canopy.
Do you mean the engineered plan
The engineer, yeah, the plan.
or
has-
site plan?
the-
Because the
This.
application is for the site plan, so I'm just, this plan.
This
okay,
plan,
Okay,
if you, well, whatever, if you were to scroll back to the roof, you would see that this plan had a terrace in it. Really high. Really essentially dangerous.
I
You removed
I
it.
do not, yeah, I don't believe we have any dangerous conditions here, Chairman, on any aspect of the design.
The terrace,
And in fairness, you've not heard testimony to reach that conclusion, so I'm not sure what the point is.
the point is that, okay, with the roof line. With the revised roof line, with a low profile upper roof, basically. To remove,
All right, so, well, Chairman, this is what I'll say. I think you've given us a lot of suggestions and recommendations. We'll certainly take it under advisement. This is the plan that we have presented. That's part and parcel to the redevelopment plan. We're obviously not going to finish this tonight. And we'll take these comments under consideration and suggestions and so forth. My engineer is here. He testified. I don't know if any board members have questions. Or members of the public have questions, which would be the normal protocol relative to presenting the application and going through.
certainly, allow, questions from our professional.
And I think our court reporter needs her fingers to rest for about 5 minutes, Chairman, so we could take a break if the board is amenable to that.
We can,
5-minute break.
we can take a break until, 20 or 10.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.